Hello, Lifevantage. This is Darren Jensen coming to you live from our broadcast studios again here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I want to welcome you to our continuing series, our doctor series, where we interview some of our top medical personnel within the company and really just talk to them about, one, how they came into the business, as well as to understand more about our products and about overall health. And today we have Dr. Arthur Lupsha with us, and it'll be great to get to know him. But before we get into that, let's give away some stuff. As always, I give away, now we're going to give away some shirts, these biohacking shirts. If you want to just put down your name, your city, and your state, or country where applicable, and we'll do a drawing on those in the next few days, and we'll get them sent out to you. So again, name, city, and state, and country. Also, just a reminder, we do have the Indianapolis Elite Academy coming up. That is, can you believe it, next week? I mean, that is, that came up so fast. So if you don't have your hotel, or if you haven't bought tickets, make sure you do that today, because we'd surely like to have you out there. It's going to be a life-changing event. All of these meetings are life-changing. Well, and also just a reminder that we did launch the Pace-Sitter program, and the Pace-Sitter program is up and running. For those of you that were over Pro 3 and have fallen under, back down to, let's say, a Pro 1 or whatever, make sure you're requalifying under that program, because you qualify for it, but you have to do it in the month of February. Okay, with that said, let's get on with our doctor today. As I mentioned, it's Dr. Arthur Lupsha. And let me just read you some of his background. It's really quite interesting. So Dr. Arthur Lupsha has a BS in biology from San Francisco State University. He has a master's of physical therapy from the College of Osteopathic Medicine of the Pacific. And then he also has a doctorate in physical therapy from the Western University of Health Science. He's been a practicing physical therapist for 24 years and in private practice for 18 years. He owns and operates Orange County Neurological Rehabilitation with his wife, Kelly, and they're in Southern California, where they specialize in the rehabilitation of stroke and traumatic brain injury survivors. Arthur and Kelly have taught other therapists nationally and internationally for the past 14 years. They said no to Lifevantage for 2 years before Kelly heard about Pro Tandem. Only listened because of his wife, he said. Now a Lifevantage distributor for the past 4 years. And with that, Dr. Lupsha, welcome. We're glad to have you on today.
Darren, thank you so much. And please call me Arthur, please.
Well, thanks, Arthur. And as I said, it's great to have you on. I know that you've been with patients and that we're trying to juggle back and forth into that. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy day.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, I did have a question. The Orange County Neurological Rehabilitation, do you want to just give us a little bit more on that? Because we talked a little bit about it before, but just kind of tell people what that involves.
Absolutely. So Kelly and I found our passion in physical therapy of working with patients whose lives have been devastated by strokes and traumatic brain injury. And, the resources that are available in the community today are very short-lived. The whole insurance system that we work under, or the sick care system, as I refer to it, it really isn't designed to look after people with these types of devastating injuries. You're going to get a few weeks or a few months of therapy in the hospital, and then maybe you'll get some outpatient therapy, and then you're done. But most problems, whether it's a hip replacement or heart surgery or a broken bone or a strained muscle, heals fairly quickly in a particular degree of time. Brain injury, stroke, doesn't fit into the healthcare model that we have, and the rehab process, instead of taking weeks and months, can often take years. So we provide a service where patients can continue to come for a prolonged period of time, where we work with them on their speed, at their level, and really try to get the most out of them over time.
Well, I really appreciate people like you and your wife, Kelly. It's I mentioned to you right before we went on that my father-in-law in December had a massive stroke, or a series of massive strokes. And, you see an 80-year-old who was out building fences. You know, he's kind of one of these burly, you know, hardworking guys. It's like, I don't need no medicine. You know, out there working, you know, just really independent. And then from one moment to the next, they get a massive stroke. And now it's been life altering for them.
Yeah. And it's not just the patient, it's their spouse, it's their families. And well, you know, if you walked into our clinic, you would see patients, you know, yes, in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, but the bulk of our patients are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, with some patients in their 20s, and one as young as he's now 12 and had a stroke when he was 5.
Wow. That's what, you know, the general health question, what is causing strokes? Because to have something like that in your 30s or 40s seems I mean, incredibly young. I mean, the 5-year-old is unbelievable, but.
Yeah, his case was very unique and different. You know, it's multifactorial. There are certainly, you know, some of the genetic components. There are, you know, anatomical issues that perhaps people just had a weakness in the blood vessel where they have what's called an aneurysm. And then if their blood pressure becomes elevated, that aneurysm can rupture and that ends up with a bleed. Or they may suffer from, you know, high cholesterol issues where they have, you know, clots that form along the walls of their arteries and they break off and then travel up to the brain and block the blood flow, and that can cause a stroke. And unfortunately, stroke is not a disease of the elderly. It's now, I think, because of all the environmental changes and issues that we're experiencing in life, affecting younger and younger people in different ways. And that's sort of what's also attracted me to what we have here at Lifevantage, because I've, as much as I love being able to do what Kelly and I do to help people recover, I now have a bigger passion for what I may be able to do to help people change the way they live their lives, to stack the odds in their favor and possibly prevent some of these issues.
So to biohack their health, for sure.
Biohack their health, absolutely.
Yeah. And so why don't you tell us about your journey to Lifevantage? Tell us about your journey. I mean, you've got a doctorate in physical therapy. You're running a clinic that is changing people's lives. How did you end up with Lifevantage?
That is such a great question, Darren, and an interesting journey. We had met Michael Epstein, Elite Pro S7, Michael Epstein, actually through his wife, because we had started trainings for some half Ironman. And his wife was part of the group we were training with, and Michael was not training at that time because little did I know he was building his Lifevantage business. And when he found out what we did, he started approaching me and saying, hey, I've got something I'd like to talk to you about. And all I knew was Michael did something to do with pills and network marketing. And all I knew about network marketing was that thing that somebody once invited me to dinner, but wouldn't give me dinner until I agreed to be open-minded about something. They wouldn't tell me what I was supposed to be open-minded about. Mm-hmm. And my grandparents said, don't ever do that. You know, that's not what you do. So I was raised that you get an education, you work hard, you save money, and that's how you get ahead in life. So for 2 years, I literally stuck my hand in Michael's face and said, don't talk to me. I didn't go to school for 9 years to sell pills. And furthermore, they do little more than give you expensive pee. So leave me alone. In fact, I never even told my wife that Michael was approaching me. So one day, Kelly was out for a run with the leader of this triathlon group, who at the time was 52 and ranked number 3 in the world for her age group for full distance Ironman triathlons. And as they're running, Kelly's talking to her about nutrition. What does she do for nutrition? How does she fuel her body for these endurance events? And after sort of sharing what she does, she finished it with, well, you know, my secret weapon's actually this thing Michael sells, Protandim. And we're like, what? And she says, yeah, it's actually improved my performance. It shortened my recovery time, and my congenital hypertension went away. And I'm like, seriously? And then she said, well, I wasn't sure if it was really doing anything for me, so I stopped taking it. And again, you know, Darren, we always say we don't claim to treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate. This is just an anecdotal story. But she said when she stopped taking it, her performance fell off, her recovery time was longer, and her congenital hypertension started coming back. So she started taking it again. And I didn't even really hear about the athletic performance. I heard congenital hypertension because I know, being in healthcare, for first stages of hypertension, you clean up your eating and you exercise more. Well, this one's a world-class triathlete. She has a private nutritionist formulating food for her. She exercises 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. She can't eat better. She can't exercise more. So what on earth is this doing in her body to change her blood pressure? So that's when I said, okay, I'll take a look. And it was really like that. And I finally sat down and I finally watched the ABC Primetime Special Report. And when I saw the statement that this was clinically proven, protandim Nrf2 activator was clinically proven to reduce oxidative stress, an average of 40% in 30 days, my wheel started turning. I said, okay, oxidative stress directly linked to over 200 diseases. If I can reduce my oxidative stress, that may reduce my risk of over 200 diseases. This is like an insurance policy. A $40 a month insurance policy? I'm in. I need it. You need it. I'm telling my wife, my parents need it. Our kids need it. Wow, our patients could benefit from this. So really, when we first looked at it, it was just purely about the potential of what biohacking your body could do by turning back on this Nrf2 protein and all the science that's been published out there about what Nrf2 activation can do, and just becoming a resource to provide this product for people who are interested in it. That's why we got involved. It's taken us a couple of years to really wrap our head around the industry of network marketing, and realize that, wow, linear income kind of stinks. And as much as I love what I do, it's physically challenging. It's emotionally draining. I turned 50 in 2.5 months, and I don't want to do what I'm doing for another 25 years. And this could really, not this could, this is the way that I know will allow us to continue working our physical therapy jobs as we want to, helping people as we can, without destroying our own health and our own bodies in the process, because we can build this residual income stream with this business. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's really, really our story of how we got involved and why.
It's a great story. Why do you believe that kind of the knee-jerk reaction of most medical personnel is, oh, no, anything dealing with the supplement or anything dealing with nutrition or anything dealing with anything that isn't some medication is always, that's just expensive urine. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think, number one, there is enough evidence out there, and there's enough self-evidence, anecdotal evidence, that an awful lot of the supplementation out there, your body excretes. I mean, I would tease Kelly every day that she would make me take my multivitamin, because I'd take it at night and the next morning my pee is like some really strange fluorescent orange color. And if that's the case, I'm truly just excreting it. And so when you think about, your direct antioxidants, when you think about supplementation, the old way of providing extra nutrients to your body, unless you're deficient in something, those extra things are just going to be pushed right back out. So I think that's part of it. I think that in the Western medical mindset, we're lacking a lot of education on nutrition. Even doctors don't get educated on nutrition. They get educated about drugs. And there's so much money coming from big pharma supporting pharmacy schools, supporting medical schools, that's what, the allopathic medicine, the Western medical mindset really becomes inundated with and educated with, and they don't really know any different. And it was so refreshing to me. I mean, we recently had the experience of speaking with a gentleman who was an anesthesiologist at a local hospital here, who was so tired with how Western medicine is being practiced that he decided to leave his anesthesiology practice to open a wellness center. And when I showed him the Washington State University study from February 25th, 2015, that concluded that Nrf2 activation may be the biggest breakthrough in preventative medicine in the history of medicine, and that, again, activating the Nrf2 protein, that protandim was clinically proven to reduce oxidative stress an average of 40% in 30 days, he said, do you understand how huge this is? I mean, do you really understand how huge this is? I said, I think so. And this is a man who had done doctoral studies at Harvard, all on neuroscience. This is a man who then went to Boston University and decided to become an anesthesiologist because he wanted to work more hands-on with patients, as opposed to being a neurologist, where although he would diagnose, he didn't know what to do about the problems. And he took one look at this and said, you know, if this will really do what they say, I'm all in. And he's now come on board and joined us, and he's now bringing this into his practice. And when I start seeing medical professionals like that and talking to him as well, he had very much the same attitude of he was just lacking education. And unlike, you know, Eastern medicine practitioners or a lot of chiropractors who've had much more nutritional education, are maybe much more open to other ways of healing the body than just traditional medicine and pharmaceuticals, it becomes very different. So my mind has been open in that direction now, and I've really come to embrace it. And it's been interesting. It's always been a very odd paradigm for me, because my passion in life, apart from treating patients, is actually in the martial arts world. And I've trained in martial arts for 32 years. And in my primary art, we not only had to learn the martial, but we also had to learn Chinese herbal medicine, 5-element theory, acupressure, acupuncture, and I've had exposure to it, but very little knowledge. But it was just enough that I always struggled trying to connect my sort of Western mindset and training with this Eastern philosophy. And again, this is where Lifevantage has kind of come to my rescue with biohacking, and that it's all sort of coming full circle and being brought together.
So that's I'm just curious, what rank are you? I mean, after that many years of studying, it's cool how they make you branch out into all these areas.
So I hold black belt rank in 2 different systems. I hold a 1st degree in Kosho Shorin Kempo, and I hold a 3rd degree black belt in American Freestyle Karate.
Wow, congratulations!
Thank you.
It takes a lot of work. So tell me about how you approach physicians. You talked about the anesthesiologist. So for those that are watching, I mean, you're a medical professional. What would you recommend to them on approaching medical professionals? Because at least, I mean, you're a doctor. I mean, so they're going to pay attention. What can the average Joe say that might be of interest to these medical professionals and get them to listen?
So I guess the one thing I'd like to sort of start with is that although I have a degree title that says doctor, being an allied health professional in the doctor's minds, I hold no more credibility than anybody else out there in their minds. I'm very much a second-class citizen in the medical world compared to most physicians. So when I'm coming to them, I come from a place of, I really try to come from a place of humility, because nobody, especially physicians, wants to feel like they don't know something, or that they're ignorant in any way, shape, or form. So what I generally do is I'll ask them, are they familiar with the research and science that's been taking place about the NRF2 protein? You know, and the vast majority will either say, well, I've heard of it, or no, not really. I said, wow, well, I would love to share with you something that I've come across that I think is really fascinating. And I truly start with that Washington State University study, and then going back to a couple of Dr. Joe McCord's original studies from 06 and 08, especially the free radical biology article that started showing the synergistic effects, properties of the components in Protandim. And I tend to find that is what, if they will read it, will catch their interest. Because absolutely every single doctor is aware of oxidative stress and the problems it causes. They often don't know what to do about it. In fact, I remember overhearing another distributor who talked to their doctor, and they asked them, doctor, if you know about oxidative stress, why don't you tell me what to do about it? And he just smiled and said, well, we don't like to talk about issues when we don't have a solution for them. So I think if we can start educating doctors that what activating the NRF2 protein can do, how it can be so potently effective at decreasing oxidative stress, and then let them make their own connect the dots conclusion to what that may lead to for their patients, I think we're setting them up to feel successful, to feel like they found the knowledge more on their own versus us trying to show them something that they were ignorant about. And unfortunately, it's a huge paradigm shift for most medical professionals, as we talked about earlier, because of the influence of big pharma in their entire education, and for many of them, many years of practice. medicine tends to run 15 to 20 years behind research. We have to remember that our research about Protandim and Nerve 2 activation is relatively new still. It's only the last 20 or so years at most. Right? The Nerve 2 protein was only discovered in 1992. That was only, 23 years ago, 25 years ago now. So it's taking time. And doctors in med school today are just being taught about Nerve 2 activation in med school. So it's going to take time for them to get out of med school before they are truly willing to accept this as self-evident.
I was reading a book, actually just finished it yesterday. It's called Grain Brain by Dr.
David Perlmutter. I love it.
Perlmutter. And in it, you were talking about oxidative stress, and it was, in my mind, it was just going through, he was saying that, oxidative stress is helping to trigger inflammation in the body. And as the body copes with inflammation, it has an effect on and correct me if I'm saying this wrong, the hippocampus, I believe, which then it reduces the size typically and makes you have a worse memory. Yeah. And, none of us want a worse memory.
No.
Oxidative stress leads to just so many different things that I believe in the power of reducing that stress. Let's say that you're with a patient and you recommend the product, let's say Protandim to them, Nerve 2, and they want to talk to their doctor about it. What counseling do you give to them, or what do you tell them at that time?
Again, great question. That comes up a lot in our office. Again, as a physical therapist, I don't prescribe anything. So I simply educate my patients about something that I found that I think can be incredibly helpful. And the majority of my patients, they take a lot of medication. So they want to go back and talk to their doctor and, is this okay? Is this safe? Is, often the questions that's asked. So I'll often, provide them with some literature that they can give to their doctors. Again, the Washington State University study is a great place to start. And I'll sort of coach them to ask the doctor this question. Doctor, is there any reason why I shouldn't decrease my oxidative stress? Hopefully the doctor's saying no, because really they would want everybody to decrease their oxidative stress. And once the doctor says yes, then they will say, well, I've been introduced to an all-natural product that's been clinically proven to do just that. I'd like to take it. Then the doctor may ask for more information, hopefully. And once they see the ingredients in there, we tend to find that the majority of them are saying, sure, this won't hurt you. Go ahead. Some of them are a little skeptical, or they get worried about a particular ingredient. But when we have the opportunity to really sit down and show them that actually the proportions of each are so small that their concerns are usually unfounded, then most of the time we get some good success and good results.
I like that.
The doctors can say, yes, go ahead.
I like that strategy that you were using. Rather than saying, can I take this? Is there any reason why I shouldn't be reducing my oxidative stress?
Right.
Because, I can't think of any reason why somebody would say, a doctor would say, oh no, you gotta boost
get that up again.
And I mean, it really puts them in a position where they would have to look at it and see if there's anything that would contraindicate with, one of their medications. And,
exactly.
Yeah, and definitely in that sense, there's thousands of medications out there. So if you're on a lot of medications, it's a good idea to have a pharmacist or a physician take a look at it, see if there's any contraindications.
And if by chance, Darren, the doctor turns around and says, no, don't take it, then the last question I have them ask is I'll really have them ask, doctor, are you really familiar with the science and research behind Nerve 2 activation? And I borrowed this from Dr. Mark Gordon, because it's a little hard. It can be a little harsh, but I'll just educate my patients and let them know that, look, if this doctor readily admits that they know nothing about Nerve 2 activation, Nerve 2 research, then what makes them an authority to tell you that you should or shouldn't be using Protandim?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and see, that comes down to, my personal belief. By the time I've walked into the doctor's office, I've already diagnosed what I've had. I've already studied, I've already, and that's what I like about the internet. It's the great equalizer. I've already read up on everything, studied it. So when I go in, I'm going in with very pointed questions. And if they're telling me something different, they have to prove it to me from what my belief is and show me. It's not, too many people just say, "Oh yes, doctor, I will obey," and I see it more by age. I know my in-laws, they're in their 80s, and that doctor says something and there is no question that's just what they're doing. But with this new movement of the rise of the health activated individual, people are armed with a lot of information about their own health. A lot of us are out doing genetic testing and other types of testing so that we have a good idea of what our bodies are doing. And so, hey, I figure it's my body, and I'm the one that pays the bill. So I figure I need to get the service that I'm looking for.
Well, you're precisely right. And whether it's a particular doctor or even in the therapy world, like your father-in-law with his stroke, many people do go out and get a second opinion from doctors. Not so many people go out and search a second opinion from a physical therapist. And I always tell my patients, you're paying for my service. So if you went out and you test drove a car and you weren't happy with the car, would you buy it? No. So why pay for a service if you're not happy with it? Get a second opinion, do your due diligence, whether it's doctors, therapists, anything in life. I'm all for going out and knowing what it is that you're seeking, arming yourself with as much information as possible. We just always have to be careful about what we're sourcing for that information.
No, I agree. Because not everything you read on the internet is true. If you haven't found that out.
That's right. Google's a wonderful search engine. It's not a wonderful research engine.
No, for sure. Maybe Siri can tell me exactly what I need to do.
There you go.
I guess the final question, because our time has already flown by, tell us how you build your Lifevantage business.
Oh, wow. It's been a real journey wrapping our heads around how to build this business in this industry. And, our clinic is very small. We ran out of patients in our clinic to talk to in the first 2 weeks we were in Lifevantage. So, we really had to learn how to meet people, how to introduce this to others. With the rise of social entrepreneurialism, my wife and I have to give Kelly a whole bunch of credit, along with one of our distributors, Jill Werner, that we've learned so much from Sharice Matthews and Jenny Crane about building on Facebook and using social media to help us build. So that's really become a bigger part of it. It's been an amazing journey and transformation. I have to admit, in our 4 years, we had never before set our minds to earning an incentive trip before. We always thought, wow, if it happens, great. But when we announced the Bahamas trip last year, Kelly and I said, we are going to the Bahamas. And we actually thought, we did everything we could to make sure we earned this trip. And we rolled into December 1st needing 470 points more, and we thought slam dunk. And we rolled into January 1st and we needed 460 more points still. And we're like, are you kidding me? What happened in December? But we just dug deep and we said, no matter what, we are not missing this. And it came down to January 31st. And I told Carrie Dickey just the other day, I heard all these cliches from the elite distributors up on stage about thanking their teams and they couldn't have done it on their own. And I was the guy that did all the individual sports. I played tennis, I played golf, martial arts was much more about me than a team. So I didn't really get all that. I didn't understand it until now, Darren. And it's so true. You cannot build this business by yourself. It's about building relationships. It's about building a team that is cohesive, that is like-minded, that has the same vision. And we earned the trip. Although I'm still waiting for the official numbers to show up in our back office. But we were told by Skylar that if we did all the things that he told us, we would have the trip. And all those things happened. And they literally happened at the 11th hour, putting the last piece of the puzzles together at 10:30 at night on January 31st. So, how do you build it? You build it from your heart. You build it with passion. You build it through knowing that we're sharing amazingly important information. And I'm not a salesman, so I don't sell anybody anything. I'm an educator. I educate people. I help them understand what this is and what it could do for them should they choose to investigate and learn about it and trial things for themselves. And the beautiful thing is that over and over again, people get incredible, amazing changes to their lives, and they keep moving forward. So it's been a beautiful journey.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Arthur. That was wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you out in the Bahamas.
Thank you very much, Darren. Thank you for all you've done for this company. We see this company going amazing places, and you are a huge driving force of that.
Well, thank you. And you and everybody like you are the true driving force in the company. So keep up the good work and keep changing lives out there. Thank you for all that you do. And I know that many families similar to mine who have people that are, trying to overcome strokes, they're very grateful for what you and your wife do. So keep up that great work. And again, we'll see you in the Bahamas.
Well, we're honored and blessed, and we'll see you in Indy before then.
Oh, yeah. I'll see you next week in Indianapolis. And for everybody watching, thank you for joining us. We'll see you in Indianapolis. I know tomorrow I've got, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got our earnings call, so that takes up most of the day. But we do have on Thursday at 1:15 p.m. Mountain Time, we have Sam and Ray Allen, who are our movers and shakers. So look forward to having them on. And to all of you, thank you and good luck. And we'll see you on Thursday.
Thanks again, Darren. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.